Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing another challenge from Codewell. So you can go into codewell.cc/challenges, and then you can just scroll all the way to the bottom, and we're going to be doing the fiber landing page. So you can click on this challenge or on this button, and then if it's going to load in today, we are going to have the challenge right here. And there we go. So this is how it looks on mobile, and then this is on desktop, I think, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to say download challenge, which is going to download the zip file for me. So download challenge, and then I'm going to say download starter files. And then once it downloads the starter files right here, I can just open the folder, and then I can see that it's right here. So I'm going to right click on this and say extract. So extract here, and we should have the files right here. Now the Mac OS X files are also extracted. You can check that out if you're on Mac, I guess, but we're not going to do that, so I can just delete it. And then now for this one, I'm going to right click on it and say open with code, which is going to open up an instance of Visual Studio Code into this folder. And we're going to see that we have our assets, and then we have the design files. So we can close this down and we can take a look at the design file. So we have the desktop design, and you know what, let me actually do this instead. Let me open this up. So design, let me open this one, and there we go. So this is what we have for the desktop design. So it looks pretty neat. And then we also have the mobile design here. So the mobile design right there, just stacked one on top of the other. And then we have the what is it? This is the sign up page, I guess. And then we have the mobile version of the sign up page. So that's what we are going to be building in this video. Now the first thing that I want to do is I want to rename this the design. I want to rename this to a small d, and then rename this to a small a, not s. There we go. And then I'm going to create an index.html file, and then I'm also going to create an index.css file. And then inside here, I'm just going to say exclamation and enter, because I'm using Emmet, and it generates this boilerplate for me so that I don't have to type it out. Now below this, I want to link my CSS files, so I'm going to say link this into index.css. And then for the document title, I'm going to say fiber landing page. And what I want to do is I'm going to be using an extension that is called live server, which is going to help me to launch a local development server. Where is it? This one. You can go ahead and install it if you want to use it. I do recommend it, but you don't have to use it if you don't want it. So I'm just going to right click on my HTML file here and say open with live server, and that is going to open up on localhost 5500. And once it opens up, you can see that we have a blank page because we are rendering nothing on the screen. So let's go ahead and begin to fill this out. And I need where is it? I need this. I need that to be open. So we can begin. We can see that we have our header here, or our navigation bar, and then we have our hero section, and then so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do therefore is this. I am going to go back inside here. So let's begin by adding in our header here, and the header is going to have our logo, and then our navigation bar, and then these two sign up buttons, so sign in and sign up. Let me just check whether they have the logo here. They don't have the logo. Okay, that's okay. So let's go ahead and say for the header, we're going to have a div inside here, and then this div is going to be an anchor tag, because we want that when you click on the logo, then it takes you to the home page. So this is just going to link into index.html, and then it's going to say fiber with one I. There we go. And then below this div, we're going to have a nav bar, so nav element, and then the nav element is going to have 3 list items, so ul with 3 list items, so li times 3. That's how you do it in Emmet. And then actually not, we want this to be links as well, so let's just say they should have anchor tags, all of them, and then they're going to be hashtags because they're not linking to any other page that we have on our website. So we're going to say the first one says community with a double M, and then the second one says pricing, and then finally the third one says features. And then once we have that, we are going to create a UL, so another unordered list, and we're going to have two list items which are going to be buttons. So buttons, the first one says sign in, and then the second one says sign. There we go. Now let's go ahead and save that, and then for the header, let me give it a class of header so that we can style it out in our CSS. And then just to save it, and we're going to have this on the screen. You can see it looks quite ugly, and actually we need the font. Let me check what font does it use. It uses the Inter font. So let's go into fonts.google.com. So fonts.google.com, and then insert here. Come on, they changed the layout again. Okay, let's just figure out how this works first of all. So I want to search for the Inter font, and why is this speaking Russian or whatever language this is? Okay, there we go. So we can set it to that, and then let's search for the Inter font, and we have this one. So we want, this is probably like what? We want a bold font, and we also want a light font. So I'm going to use bold 700, and then I'm going to use the regular 400, and then using the import tab, let me just copy this. Come on, copy that, and then back inside our CSS, we're going to paste it on top, and then we're going to select our universal selector and say reset the margin to 0, and then reset the padding to 0, and then reset the box sizing to border box, and then we're going to set the font family for everything to be Inter with a fallback of sans serif in case it fails to load. And then actually that's pretty much it for our beginning, so that this resets. You can see that now it resets, and then let's place this to the right, and then let's place our code editor to the left so that we can style it side by side. Now we know that we have a class called header in our HTML. So for the header, actually we need to see how it looks on mobile first of all. So let me just check it out. Okay, so for mobile, we only have this logo appearing, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's add in the logo first of all. So right below this, we're going to have a div here, and this is going to be a button, and then this button is going to be an image that should be linking into /assets/hamburger menu, this one. And then for the alt attribute, in case the image fails to load, let's just say menu. And then for this div, I'm going to give this a class name of menu so that we can access it in our CSS. You can see that it appears right here. Now I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that for the header, we're going to say display flex, which is going to align them in a row form. And then I'm going to say align item center and justify content to the center. Sorry, not to the center, but space between, because I want them to go end to end. There we go. And then now we need to reset a few more styles. For example, we don't need these bullets, and we don't want this underline on the links. So I'm going to say that for all the links, meaning the anchor tags, then I'm going to say the text decoration to none. And then for the ULs, we're going to say list style type and set it to none so that it gets rid of the bullets. And then we can style out the buttons as well. So let's just go below this and say that for all the buttons, we don't want the background color. So the background is going to be transparent. And then we're going to remove the border. So border none. And then we're going to remove the outline by default. So outline none. So that now it looks like text. And then we're going to set the font size to 1 rem, which is 16 pixels by default, because they are a bit smaller in size, if you can see it. And then let's move this upwards. And then let's see, we need, what else? The color for this, we're going to change it into a hashtag 222 for the links so that they're just a bit darker. And then below this, once again, let's add in a few more styles. So for the paragraphs, I want all of them to have a line height of 1.8. And let's do that for, will that work for the list items as well? It does work, but it might mess us up. So let me just remove it. And then let's go back to the header. Let's add some padding here of about 24 pixels all around to push everything inwards. And then now we can begin to access all of these one by one. So I'm going to say that for the header, and then I want the div, which is the first child. So first child, meaning only the first div. And the first div is, let me close this. This is the first div, and we know that inside this div we have an anchor tag, which is the logo. So I'm going to say this for the first div, I want the anchor tag, and then I want to change the font weight to bold, which is going to do that. And then I want to change the font size to 24 pixels, which is going to make it just a bit larger. And then I don't want this and this to display on mobile. So I'm going to say that for the header, I want to get the navbar, and then I also want to get the UL, but that is going to be a bit hard because there are two unordered lists inside here. So let me give this second one a class name of CTA, meaning call to action. So that now inside here, I can say that for the header nav, and then place a comma, and then say for the header dot CTA, like so, meaning targeting both elements inside here. I'm going to say display none, which is going to hide them on mobile, which is what we want to happen. And then other things we're going to figure out on the way. So that is looking nice on mobile. And then now what we need to do is on desktop, we need to reset the style so that the links now appear. And then we also need to limit this so that it doesn't go all the way to the end on desktop. So let me just check it out. So right there, so it is limited. It is limited. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say that for the header, we are going to give it a max width of 1100 pixels, which is going to do that. So it brings it to the middle, right? Or rather to the left, sorry, but we need to bring it to the middle. And the way we do that is by setting a margin of 0 on the top and bottom and auto on the left and right, which is going to place an equal margin on the left and on the right, and then brings our content to the middle. And something else that you can do is if you don't want to have margin and you don't want to define this first value, then what you can do is, let me just comment this out. What you can do is you can say margin dash inline of auto, meaning only place the margin on the left and right, and you can say that we don't have to define an extra value for the top and bottom, and it does the exact same thing. Now let's go ahead and remove this on desktop and then add in our links. So we're going to say this, we're going to do that by adding what are called media queries, and it uses the @media rule for CSS. And what this does is it takes in a condition. So we're going to say that when the minimum width of the device that you're viewing this on is greater than, let me say about what are laptops, let's say 1024 pixels, 1024 pixels, meaning when the minimum width of the device is greater than 1024 pixels, then we want these two, so just copy this, to display as block elements, and you can see that they're going to show up. And then on large screens, we don't want this to show up. So we're going to say that for the header, and then we want, did I give it a class? I gave it a class of menu. So I'm going to say that for the header and for the class of menu, I'm going to say display none, which is going to make it disappear, as you can see. And then now this comes to the end, and then this is in the middle. And the reason why it is in the middle and on the end is because, remember, we have display flex here and align item center and justify content to space between. So this is what places them all the way to the end, meaning places an equal margin so that they take up the maximum width that they can within the container in which they are placed. So now let's deal with this on desktop. So we want to go ahead and target the second class so that they are aligned in raw form, and the same for this one. So below this, we're going to say that for the header nav, and then we want to take the UL, and then the same way we want to say that for the header, and then for the call to action, and the call to action is the another list. Yes, okay. We're going to say this, we're going to say display this as a flexbox, and we're going to say that now it is in raw form, and then we want to separate them out a bit. So I'm going to say gap is going to be about 1 rem, which is 16 pixels, and it's going to separate them out, and this is a bit too small, so let's say 2 rem, make it even larger, and that is much better. And then we need this button to be styled differently, so we do that on top because we want it to be styled like that on mobile as well, even though we're not going to see it. So I'm going to say that for the header, and then I want for the .cta class, I want the list item, which is the first child. And what I'm doing basically is just going inside this class and then inside this first list item. And then I want to say for the button, I just realized. And then for this one, I'm going to give it a background color and set it to purple for just so that I can see that it's working, right? And then I'm going to give it a padding of 0.625 rem on the top and bottom and 1.5 rem on the left and right. Give it a border radius of 0.2 rem all around. Make it like that, and then change the color. So on top of this, change the color to white, and then let me see, change the font weight to bold. So font weight, change it to bold. There we go. That's looking nice. Now just realize that this is a bit offset from this, right? And you notice that it only came in when I added the padding. So if I remove the padding, then it's on the same line. But if I add the padding, then it messes up a bit. The way you fix that is just by going to, where is it? Here, and saying align at the center, which is going to bring it to the center. Now this is not the correct color, so we actually need to get this color. This looks like a certain blue, but I don't know. They don't provide the colors here, or do they? No, they don't. They don't provide the colors. So we're just going to have to eyeball it. And you know what? I have a solution for this. Let's open up Figma. Let's open up Figma. Where is it? Here. Okay, so I have opened up Figma in the browser because it was taking too long to open up the desktop application. And then I've just imported this image inside so that you can take a look at the colors. So let me just select, let me see, how am I going to do this? Let me place a rectangle here, and then I want to select this color, and then copy this hexadecimal value, and then we're going to paste it, where is it, on my button. Where's the button? Here. There we go. So save that, and then now we can take a look at this, and we're going to have the correct color. Now I just realized that I want all the buttons to have a cursor of pointer, so that when you hover over them, then the cursor changes to a pointer instead of this thingy. So we're going to say that for the buttons, remember that we gave it a global style somewhere here. We're going to say that give it a cursor of pointer. And then I just want to add another one, which is going to be on hover. And on hover, I want the, wait a minute. That is not going to work because the buttons are going to have different styles. Let me just remove it. And then we're going to do this. So now the buttons all have a cursor of pointer same to the links, and that's looking okay. Now let's go ahead and build up this second part, which is the hero section, and I'm just going to call it the hero section. And now I think I can, let me close this so that I import all the images on Figma, because I think it's going to be faster. So let me import this one, let it load in, which is the mobile design, and then the sign up page for desktop. The sign up page, move this here, and then the sign up page for mobile. So bring this here. There we go. That is looking much better. And you know what? I just realized that I did this on the wrong button. So we need to just change up something here, change this to last child, and that is going to apply the styles on the other button instead of this one. As easy as that. Now let's begin to build out our hero section. So back inside our HTML, we're going to do this. Below our header, I'm going to place a comment and say hero section. And then I'm going to create a section and give it a class of hero. And then inside here, we're going to create an article or a div if you prefer. And we're going to create two of them. So the first one is going to house all of this content here of the text. And then the second one is going to be this image. So we're going to say this. If you want to use divs, you can use divs. If you want to use articles, you can use articles. I just prefer to use an article. So article, which is going to be the first one. And then another one here, which is going to be the image, which I want to add in right away. So it's coming from assets / let me check, hero illustration. And then for the alt attribute, I'm just going to say hero banner. And then the first one here for the first article, we need to add in these 5 stars and then this text. And to do that, how am I going to do that actually? I'm going to add a UL, and let me just confirm. I'm not sure whether they provide the images as 5 stars or as individual stars. So let's see. Star.svg, so it's one single star. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a UL with 5 list items, and then these list items are going to be images like so. And then this one is coming from /assets / star.svg. And then let me just remove all of this so that I can just copy this 5 more times, or rather 4 more times. And then below this UL, we're going to have a paragraph that says rated 4.5, 4.8, so rated 4.8 out of 5, and then brackets 243 reviews. So let's save that first of all, just to see what we have on the screen. Let me close this page. Okay, so we have our 5 stars here, and then the text, and then our large hero image right there. And I just realized that we did not resize our images. That's why we have a overflow on the x-axis. So let's fix that right away. And we're going to go back on top, and right below our button, we're going to say that for all the images, we want the max width to be 100%, so that it doesn't cause an overflow and it takes up 100% of the container in which it is placed, and that is much better. So let's keep on adding the text first of all, and then we can begin to style it out. So this is an H1 that says create a portfolio in minutes. So back inside here, below, oh, that is going to be an issue. This is going to be an issue because we want the stars to be aligned with this text, which means we need a parent for this. And for this, I'm going to use a div. And then below this div, I'm going to have, let me see, how does this look on mobile? Stacked one on top of the other. So I'm going to do this. We're going to have an H1 that says create your portfolio in minutes, create your portfolio in minutes. And then below this, we're going to have some text, which I'm going to type out because they don't provide the text. So with fiber, comma, you can set up your own portfolio in minutes, your own minutes with dozens of pre-made beautiful templates, with dozens of pre-made beautiful templates. And then below this paragraph, we have a UL with 2 list items, which are buttons. And then this one says start a free trial. Oh, sorry, trial. And then there is no R. And then the second one says view examples. And this should be capitalized as well. So start free trial, view examples. And then below this, we have another UL with 2 list items, and for this one we are going to have images, so li times 2, and then images, and then this is coming from /assets / checkmark.svg. the alt attribute is just going to say check mark, and now let me delete the second one so that I can copy this down. And then for the text, says no credit card required, so no credit card required. And then this one says 10 free templates. There we go. So let's save this. Let's see what we have on the screen, and it looks like that. Okay, fantastic. Now let's begin to start this out. We know that on mobile it is stacked one on top of the other, and the image comes first on mobile. So let's go ahead and begin to start this out. So we have a class of hero here, and then we have that. Okay, so below this, so right before our media query, I'm going to say that let me place a section that says hero, and I'm going to say that for the class of hero, then I'm going to say display flex, and then I'm going to change the flex direction into column reverse, and column reverse because we need the image to come first, and you can see that is what happens here. Let me place this to be smaller. You know what, we need this extracted therefore, so that this can be smaller, and then we can still have the design. So this is how it looks. Okay, and then place this to the left. What we need to do now is we can go inside here and give it a padding of, let me say, a padding of about 40 pixels on the top and bottom and 24 pixels on the left and right to bring it inwards. I do realize there's not much padding in the design. You can see right here, there's not much padding really, but I don't like it, so I'm going to add padding anyway. And then we are going to have that. And now let's begin to deal with this. So for the hero, I want the article, which is the first child, meaning the first article. Now, you don't have to do this, right? Okay, you don't have to do this, but I'm doing this because I don't want to add many classes inside here. That's why I'm doing this. So what you can do is you can just go inside this first article, give it a class of your liking, and then just use that class if you want. But I don't want to have many classes inside here. So that's why I'm using pseudo classes or pseudo selectors. So hero article first child, and then I want the div inside. I want the div inside here. It only has one div. So inside the div, I'm going to say display this div as a flex, which is going to bring the text here, right? Now, once I have that, I also want to go inside the unordered list inside the div because the UL is these stars. And then for these stars, I also want to say display flex so that the stars also come in raw form. And then back inside here, I'm going to say align item center, which should now push this downwards just a bit because you can see that they're not really aligned the same. You can see just push it downwards a bit. And then I'm going to give it a gap of 1 rem, which is going to separate this out. And then for the UL, I'm going to give it a gap of about 0.5 rem to separate out the stars just a bit. That's looking much better. Now let's go inside the hero article. So hero article, which is the first child again, so that I can add a margin on the top of 1 rem to push away from the image just a bit. So once we have that, then let's go ahead and get this h1. So I'm going to say that for the hero, and I want the hero article h1. I think that's how I structured it. The hero article and then the h1. Yes, that is the correct hierarchy. And for this one, I'm going to increase the font size into about 28 pixels for mobile. And I'm going to change the color. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. I did not change the color for the body. So let me do it right below this. So for the body, I want the body to have a color of hashtag 444, meaning all the text. But for the headings, we're going to change the headings to be just a bit darker. So I'm going to say that for the H1, come on, really? H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6, meaning all the headings that we're going to have, the color is going to be hashtag 222, just a bit darker. You can see that now it gives a bit of a hierarchy. I think that is much better. And this is going to move above the paragraphs. That's much better. And that is my phone. So let's continue styling the H1. And the H1 is right here. I'm going to give it a margin on the top and bottom of, let's say, 2 rem, and then 0 on the left and right. Okay, that's too big. Let's say 1 rem. And then let's go inside the paragraph. So for the hero article paragraph, I'm going to give it a margin bottom of 2 rem to separate it out from the buttons. And then let's go inside the hero article and then the UL, and the UL, I think for this one, I'm going to have to give them classes. So for this one, let me just say is equal to class of hero-btns. And then for this one, it's going to give it a class of hero-check, just like that, so that you can access them. So for the UL, and let me just say now we can just say hero-btns because that is the class of the UL. And then we're going to say display flex, okay, for them. And then we're going to change the flex direction to column. There we go. And then we're going to give it a gap of about 1 rem. Much better. And then now for this one, I want to go inside the first list item. So li, which is the first child. And then I want to go inside that button. And then this button is going to have similar styles to the button on our header. So let me just copy these styles and then place them here and save it. And you can see that we're going to have that. And then I need the width for this to be 100% so that it takes up the full width, because that is how it looks on mobile. And then for the second one, let me just copy this here. Now this is going to say last child. And for the last child, the button, let me see, I'm just going to say text align center, which should bring it here, or rather it doesn't. Or not, that's not going to work because it's a flexbox. So we can just say align item center and justify content with the center. That is going to do that. But then now this breaks something. It breaks it because of this align item center. Is there a way that I can say display block here? Oops. Display block and then text align center. Or margin inline auto. There we go. So I can remove that. Fantastic. And then we can remove this from here. And then now what we need to do is for the second one, we need the color to be that purplish color that we have, this one. And then we need the border on the bottom. So border bottom, because it has this kind of underline. You can see that, this kind of underline. So we're going to say border bottom is going to be 2 pixels solid and the very same purple color. So that we're going to have that. And that looks nice. What we need to do is rearrange this first of all. And then we're going to say change the font weight to bold. That is nice. And then now we can go inside the hero article and then inside the class that is called hero-check, and then we can give it a margin on the top of 1 rem to push it away from that just a bit. Let me say 2 rem because it's a bit too close for my liking. And then inside here, we want this to be a flex box. So I'm going to say display flex. And how does it look? How does it look on mobile? It's stacked one on top of the other. So we're going to say display flex and then flex direction. Change it into column and then give it a gap of 1 rem to separate it just a bit. So that we're going to have that once it reloads. And then see how this is offset to the top just a bit from the text. We can fix that by copying this and then going inside the list items, because the list item is the one that holds the image and then the text. So we want to display the image and the text as a flex box. So we're going to say display flex, which is going to do that, and then align item center, which is going to bring it to the perfect center, and then give it a gap of about 1 rem once again, just to do that. That's a bit too big. This is 0.5 rem, and we're going to have that. And that is our hero section on mobile. Now we just need to scale it up so you can see that it looks quite ugly. So begin at medium screens right around there, we want to add a media query. So we're going to go and say at media, and for a min width of 760 pixels, then we want the hero section to display as a grid. So display grid. And that's not going to do anything because we need to define the columns that we need. So I'm going to say grid template columns to repeat twice and 1 fractional column each. So twice, each taking up 1 fractional column, meaning 50% of what they can do. And then we're going to have a gap here of 2 rem to separate out just a bit from one another. Now this does look nice, but you can see that it begins to offset itself, which begins to look ugly, right? So what you can do is this. Once it is a grid, then we can go ahead and say align item center, which is going to bring the text to the center so that now it is not on the top like it was, right? And then what we can do is we need to limit this. We need to limit it so that it doesn't go all the way to the end. And the way we do that is by going inside the hero section, inside the parent hero, where are you here? And then adding a similar max width like we did on the header. So max width of 1100 pixels. And then a margin inline of auto. which is going to do that. Okay, would you look at that? That is looking much better. Now we need to fix this because for some reason this is now going upwards. And you know what? I know the reason why it's going upwards. It's because we set a margin bottom on the paragraphs. This is a paragraph. That is why. So let me see this one. Remove it. Yeah, that's the reason why. So we need to access this a different way, or we need to change this into a different element. So let me say, let's try changing it into a different element first of all. So this section is here. Change this into small, so that it looks like that. Obviously it's smaller in size because it's a small element, right? And then once we do that, then we can go ahead and add in our margin bottom so that it applies on this one. And then we need to style this out a bit differently. So we need to do a bit of playing around with our media queries. So let's go ahead and do that for the first H1. For the H1, so let's say we had an H1 where, let me split this so that I can be typing here, and then I can look at the H1 somewhere. Where's the H1? Here, there we go. So we're going to say that for the hero article H1, I want the font size to be about, let's say 46 pixels. This is for laptop size screens. Okay, that looks okay. And then this text can remain the way it is, or maybe you can make it a bit bigger. So let's say that for the hero article paragraph, we want the font size to be, let's say, about 1.25 rem, which is 20 pixels. If you multiply 1.25 by 16, and then we need this and this to apply side by side. So we're going to say that for the hero article, and then it's called hero dash btns, and then we're going to say display flex. Or it's already a flex box, so we need just to change the flex direction. So flex direction, change it to row, which is going to do that. And then we're going to say align item center, which is going to bring this to the center. And then we need to justify content to the flex stats that it comes here. So justify content to flex start, which is going to bring it here. There we go. And then this needs to align in raw form as well. So I'm going to say that for the hero article, and then it's called hero check, hero, okay, class of dot hero dash check, I think it was. And then let me see, we're going to say flex direction, change it to row. There we go. Fantastic. And that is our hero section. Now probably this margin is a bit too big for you, so you can increase it if you want, and I do feel like increasing it. So where we had max width and this one, we can change this into about, let me say, maybe like 1300 pixels. I think that is much better. And make sure that you change it here, and you also change it on the header as well. Yeah, I think that is much better. That is much better. So that is our hero section complete. The next section that we need to do is this one. So Wi-Fi. Oh, wait a minute. The hero section has a color. I just realized it because this contrasts from this just a bit. That is easy enough to add, but it's going to give us an issue which you're going to see in a moment. So let me go ahead and get my rectangle. Where is it? This one. Bring it here because this is the one that gives us my color. And we're going to say this. Now for this one, we want to change this color, and we want to select the color on the hero section. So that one. So this color, copy. And then you are going to see why this is going to be an issue right in a moment. Oh, you know what? I can just add it on the body as a background color. So background color, set it to this. Yeah, there we go. So that, or the other ones, we can set the background color to white. What I was thinking of doing was, let me copy this. What I intended to do was to add a background color on the header. And so, as I was saying, we were trying to add our background color, but notice how it doesn't go all the way to the end. It's because we added a max width on the header. So the way we fix that is by going inside our index CSS and finding our header and hoping that my mouse stops misbehaving. And then if I remove this from here and save it, then look at this. Now it goes all the way to the end. But we don't want our header to go all the way to the end. We want it to be limited to right around here. So another solution for this would be the following: to go inside our index HTML, and then inside our header, we are going to add another container. So just cut everything out. And then we're just going to add a div with a class of header-inner, and then paste this in. But when I save this, it's going to break our website just a bit, because now remember how we were adding display flex on the header? Now we don't add it on the header, we add it on the header-inner. So header-inner. And then when I save this, now it goes back to normal. And then when I add this in, it goes back to the same problem we had, because now we don't want the background color to be on the header. We want it to be on the header inner. Sorry, we don't want the background color on the header inner. We want it on the header. So we're going to cut this out from here. And then we are going to do a class of header, and then just add in our background color, and then that should fix it. So that now the content is limited, but the background color persists all the way to the end. Now let me just open this up because I've forgotten how the design looked. So let's go inside the design, the landing page. And then let me see. So we have the background color persists all the way up to here. Okay, so we're just going to do a bit of playing around with our content. So what we're going to do is the following. Inside the hero section, let's see how we style it out. So inside the hero, by the jumping here that you see is because my mouse has an issue. I hope I'll be able to fix it in the next video. So we are going to do something similar, where now we are going to add the background color here. Oops, paste it in. Perhaps move it right there. But then once again, remember that because we added the max width here, if I save it, then we still have the same problem that like we did in the header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside this section with the class of hero and cut out everything all the way up to here. Cut it out and then add the div with a class of hero-inner. And then paste in my content. And then once I save this, then we should have this breaking, right? And then now let's just play around with our CSS. So what we want to do now is, let's see, we want the class of hero-inner here. And then above it, we want to create the class of hero so that we can grab the background color and move it upwards here. So that when I save it now, the background color persists, but our styles are messed up. And that is because, wait, why are our styles messed up? It's because I don't have the class of, oh, I have the class of hero inner. So div class, hero inner, display flex, flex direction, column reverse. Oh, you know what? It's because of our media query. We added a media query somewhere. So let's just get it here. This should now say hero-inner. And there we go. So just make sure that it is responsive once again. So let's just scale it out, scale it downwards. And then it is responsive, as you can see. And then when I scale it up, then it looks okay. And my screen is acting up. That's okay. Now let's go ahead and continue building out the next section, which is going to be this part right here that says Y fiber. And for this one, I'm still not sure I'm going to structure it, but this entire thing might be just one section and then giving it some bit of styles here and there. So let's just begin. So on the top, we are going to go ahead and do this inside our index HTML. This should come here. So below our class, our hero section, so below this, I'm just going to add a comment here that says Y fiber section. And then I'm going to create a section with a class of Y-fiber because I can't think of a creative class name. And then inside this section, we're going to do the following. Okay, let me open this up in another view. Okay, so there we go. This is much better. So that now I can just switch the screens instead of having to switch up to this tab. Now let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to create an H2 or an H3 that says Y fiber. So let's say H3 that says Y fiber. And then below this, we're going to have an H2 that says a good portfolio means good employability. So good portfolio means good employability. ability. And then below this h2, see how we have 3 cards here? I'm going to create a div with a class of cards, and then inside each div we're going to have an article with a class of card, so singular. And then each of this is going to have the icon here, so we're going to begin with the image. The source for this should be inside the assets, and then this is a clock. Do we have a clock? Let me just check. So it should be called what? Time.svg. So time.svg. And then because this is decorative, we don't need to have an alt attribute, but frameworks such as Next.js require that you do have it inside. But if you're using HTML, you can just leave it as that. And then below this, we're going to have an h4 that says build in minutes. And then below this h4, we're going to have some text. So it says with the selection of pre-made templates, you can build out a portfolio in less than 10 minutes. So pre-made templates, you can build out a portfolio in less than 10 minutes, and then full stop. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this and paste it down 2 more times, so 1 and 2, and then I just want to style them out. Now we have created the same thing, the same what's it called, the same article, just 3 more times, because I just want to style them out. So where's my VS Code? Here. Then let me close this. Now inside our index CSS, we are going to go below here. So right below the media query, or right before the media query, we're going to add a comment that says y fiber. And then below this, we're going to access the class of y-fiber. And then the first thing I'm going to do is give it a max width of 1300 pixels. 1300 pixels, come on. And then give it a max width of, let me say, auto all round, because I want it to be limited. And will you work, please? Y-fiber. Reload. Okay, so why aren't you working? Y-fiber. Do I have that class? Section with the class of y-fiber. Y-fiber. Did I spell this wrongly? Wait a minute. Let me say. Oh, you know what? Please don't write it in the comments. And then let's give it a padding on the top and bottom. So give it a padding of, let me say, about 3 rem on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. This is a bit too small, so let me say 5 rem. That's better. And then let's go inside the h2. So inside the class of y-fiber, and then the h2, give it a color of blue. This blue is, did they provide the colors? I don't think they provided the colors. So let me see. I think oh wait a minute, I used this blue here. I used that blue. So let me just search for a hashtag, and then this one, which is going to give it the class of so this is the h3, not the h2. So the h3, okay. And I spelled this wrongly, so we're going to fix that right away. Employability. And then inside the h2, we're going to give it a margin bottom of 1 rem to push away from the h3. And then for the to push away from the h2, I'm mixing this up. So y-fiber, and then we want the h2 now, so this one, to increase its size. So I'm going to say font size, and I'm going to increase this to about 1.5 rem. Is that bigger? That's actually the same size. Let's say 2 rem on small screens. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, and then inside our media query right below this, for tablet side screens, we want to increase this to about 4 rem to make it even bigger. Actually, that's too big. Let's say 3 rem. That's looking okay. And then now what we want to do is we don't want this to go all the way to the end. We want it to be limited to right around here. I think that's how it is in the design. So what we can do is we can give this a fixed width of about, let's say, 500 pixels. And that does limit it, but it's a bit too much. Let's say about 700 pixels. And that's looking almost okay. Actually, that does look okay. That looks much better. And then what we need to do next is right above where we have our h2, we're going to give it a margin bottom of 2 rem to push away from the rest of the content, which is these articles. And you know what, 2 rem is a bit too small. Let's say 3 rem, make it even bigger. And then what we need to do now is just style out our articles to look like so. Now I'm styling this out by adding media queries as well, so that it is completely responsive by the time we're looking at it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go inside the class of cards and then access each card inside. So here we're going to say for the class of Wi-Fi, I want to go inside the class of cards. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to display this as a grid. So I'm going to say display grid. And then I'm going to say grid template columns to repeat once and one fractional column for each one of them, which is not going to really change anything. But then I want to add a grid gap here. So I'm going to add a gap of about 2 rem, and it's going to separate out the grids that we're going to have. And if you want to see this in action, what you can do is you can say that for the Wi-Fi class, and then inside the cards class, and then inside the individual card, then you can give this a background color of, let's say, like what's a good color? Orange. And then you're going to see that now we have each of these 3 articles that we have styled. And then now what I want to do is inside these articles, I want to give them a padding of about 1 rem all around to push it inwards just a bit. And we can add a border radius, though this is not going to be visible. So border radius 1 rem is not going to be visible because inside our design, they don't have a background color. Okay. Now what we need to do is we want to go inside each of these single articles and then style out the titles as well as the text just a bit, because we need to add some bit of padding or a bit of spacing rather. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and then I'm going to say that for the H4s that are inside, I want to add a margin of 1 rem on the top, 0 on the left and right, and 2 rem on the bottom, which is going to give them the space. Okay, this is too big, so let me say 1.5 rem. Just reduce, or let me say 1 rem on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Yeah, let's work with that. And then now what we need to do is we're going to remove this background color, or not, just for demonstration, let me just leave it in. And then what we need to do is we need to change this grid into 2 grids and 3 grids on larger screens. So I'm going to copy this, and then inside our 768 pixels media query, I'm going to go below this, and then I'm going to remove this because we already defined it on top, so we don't need to define it again. And then remove this as well for the same reason. And then for tablet side screens, I want this to be two grids, so 1 and then 2. And then the third one is going to go to the bottom, and if you are to add a 4th one, it's going to come here, and so on and so forth. And then what we're going to do is just copy this once again, and for 1024 pixels, meaning for computer side screens and above, then we want this to display as 3 grids, so 1 2 3, and that's looking quite nice if I do say so myself. And then now we can go ahead and remove the background color of orange because you have now seen the way it is styled. And would you look at that, that's looking nice. Now the reason why this is pushed inwards a bit is because of the padding that we added. Now I added the padding only for demonstration purposes, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it from here so that now this is aligned properly. And then this gap seems a bit small for me, so let me just go ahead and do this. Let's go where we added our grid gap, which is here, change this to 4 rem, and let's work with that. And now that we have that, let's go ahead and change the content inside here because the images are wrong. So we need this is code, and then this is responsive. So let's go ahead and change this into, do I have code inside here? Yes. And then this is responsive. No, we don't have that image. So let's see, what's the image called? All sizes. So all sizes, there we go. And then change the text for the H4, so it says add custom CSS, and then the text here says customize your personal portfolio. So customize your personal portfolio, even more with the ability to add your own custom CSS, to add your own custom CSS styles. And then the third one says responsive, so responsive. And then the text here says all fiber templates, so all fiber templates are completely responsive to ensure the experience is seamless and seamless across all devices. So to ensure the experience is seamless across all devices. And then let's save it, and then now our content should now be looking nice. There we go. Now we can go ahead and build the next section, which is, remember, I'm just adding it inside this section, but now below the div, and this div is the one with the class of cards, remember? So below this div, I'm going to create another div, or another, yeah, let's create another div, which is going to be this one. So we're going to do the following. We're going to create a div with a class of bg-blue, there we go. And then inside this div, the way I want to structure it is I want to add two articles. So the first one is going to be this text, and then the second one is going to be this image. So we're going to have an article here, and this one is going to be an h3, or you know what, I can just do it as an h2, and then it says diversify your portfolio. And then below this h2, I'm going to have a paragraph that says create an even more impressive portfolio. So create an even more impressive portfolio by creating case study for your project. So by creating case studies for your what? For your projects. Simply follow our step by step guide. So simply follow our step by step guide. And then below this, we're going to have a button that says start free trial. That's looking nice. Now below this article, we're going to have another article, and this one is just going to be the image. So the image should be now I think it's this one. So page image png, let me see. Yeah, that's the correct one. So /assets/page image png. And then for this one, I'm just going to say the alt attribute is going to be diversify your portfolio. Yeah, I can just call it that. Now let's go ahead and save this, and then let's see what we have on the screen. Looking okay. So there we go. Now I just realized this one has taken the styles of this one, because this is an h2 and this is an h2 as well. And then the way we were styling them is we just said for every h2 that is inside the Y-Fiber class. So that is what is happening, just in case you wonder where these styles are coming from. Now let's go ahead and do this. Below this, we're going to have a div. What did I call it? BG blue. So for the class of Y-Fiber and for the BG blue class, and the guy with the car is annoying. Okay, let's continue. I want to give it a background color of hashtag, come on, hashtag, and then this one, and then give it a padding all round of about 1 maybe 1 rem. And then let's give it a border radius of 1 rem as well. And then let me see, I want every text inside here, I want all the text to have a color of white. So color FFF, and that should do that. Okay, now this is annoying. Now the padding is a bit too small, so let me say padding 2 rem. Yeah, let's use 2 rem. And then now I want to get this h2, and we're going to do the following. We're just going to copy this part. So copy, and then I'm going to say that for the h2 that is inside the BG blue, then I want to change the color into white, and that is going to change the color. Now I also don't want the margin bottom, so I want to reset the margin bottom and reduce it to about 1 rem. There we go. And the reason why this works, by the way, is because of CSS specificity. You can read about it. It's a hard word to pronounce. Now let's go ahead and do the following. We want to change this, let me see, BG blue, then the article. So we want to add, we want to change this into a grid. So I'm going to say display grid with grid template columns, to repeat once and 1 fractional column each. Because on mobile, let me inspect. On mobile, it's going to look as follows. Ooh, I've just realized something. We need padding here on the left and right. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's add a grid gap here of 2 rem, just to separate it out here just a bit, right? And then what we're going to do now is we're going to add a margin on the left and right so that this blue part pushes inwards. So we're going to do the following. Right below our padding, I'm going to say margin of 0 on the top and bottom, and I'm going to say one rem on the left and right. I can't remember what I used on top, but let's just use one rem. And then I just realized something. We need margin on the top as well. So here we're going to say margin of about 5 rem on the top and 1 rem on the left and right, and then 0 on the bottom. So increase the space. And then let's fix this to push it inwards before I forget. So I'm just going to go inside the Y fiber class. The Y fiber class here. So padding of 5 rem on the top and bottom, and then change this to 1 rem on the left and right, which is going to push it inwards. That's looking much better. And why is this so much more than this? Why? Let me see, what did I do? H2. Okay, this mouse is annoying. So margin 1 rem on the left and right. Wait, what did I do on the top? Padding 1 rem left and right. Okay. Let's do this. Let's set this back to 0, and then let's say margin of that is going to be an issue. That is going to be an issue. I can't change that. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Wait just a minute. Let's take this back to 1 rem. Let's set it back to 1 rem. Okay, I think I used 1 rem on the top as well. And then let's go back inside the Y fiber class, which is this one. And then let's remove this. Okay, so I added something. Is it because of the padding? No, it's because of the gap. No. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm thinking of this as a different section apart from this. That's what's happening. So because we already added the padding on the Y fiber class, which is the parent, then we don't need to add all of this. We just need to add a padding on the top and bottom. So let me just say padding of 5 on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. That's better. That is much better. Okay, so let's fix this button. So let's go inside the Y fiber class. So the Y fiber, and then the .pg blue, and then we want the button inside, and we're going to give it a background color of what was it, white, and then give it a border radius of about 0.3 rem, and then let's give it a text color here of our purple color, this one. Save it. There we go. And then let's change the font weight to bold, make it even bolder, and then let's give it a padding of, let's say, about 1.5 rem on the top and bottom, and then 1 rem on the left and right. Actually, that's the opposite. It should be 1 rem on the top and bottom and 1.5 rem on the left and right. Okay, and then let's display this as an inline block. So display inline block, so that I can go ahead and give it a margin on the top of about 1.5 rem, pushed away from the paragraph. That's looking nice. Okay, let's increase this gap because I don't want it to be the same space as this one, just to give it a bit of hierarchy. So here, let's increase the gap to about 3 rem. That is much better. Okay, and then let's begin to scale this up because obviously you don't want it to look like this on large screens, right? So what we're going to do is the following. We're going to go inside our 768 media query, and then what we're going to do is the following. We're going to say that for the Y fiber class, we want the BG blue, and then now we want this to display as 2 grids, so 2 grids and 1 fractional column each. There we go. And then I just realized that this is the same style as this one. So what we can do is we can just place a comma here and say that for the Y fiber class, and then for the BG blue class as well. And then I can remove this and save it, and you can see that it does the same thing. But then I still want this part because I want to add a bit more styles. Come on, I want to add a bit more styles, and this includes a line item center, which should bring this downwards. And then let's see, how does this look, by the way? Oh, this is a much bigger image. It's a much bigger image. Oh, wait a minute, is it because I've scrolled in? No, it's a bigger image. Why is this image so small, by the way? Let me see. So align item center. And then now what I want to do is this. I want to remove the padding. So I want to say padding 0. Okay, so that this happens. Let me just go ahead and remove this padding of 0 so that this resets, right? And then what I want to do is I can say that for the Y-Fiber class and then for the BG Blue, and then I want to get the article, which is the first child, meaning the first one. And then I can set its width to about 70 viewport widths. What does that do? That does not do what I want. I want it to be 70%, meaning 70% of its container, meaning the grid in which it is placed. And what can I say? This is, let me see. Let me copy this, paste it here, change this into last child so that I can get the second one, and then save this, and then increase this to 130%. Okay, so now it overflows. That's not what I want. Let's remove it and then just save it so that it resets. And then now what I want to do is this. I want padding on the top and on the right, but I don't want padding on the bottom. So we're going to do this right where we have, where was it? It was here. So we're going to have a padding of, what did I use? What did I use on the top? On the BG Blue, padding of 2 rem. Okay. So here I'm going to say padding of 2 rem on the top, 2 rem on the right, 0 on the bottom, and 2 rem on the left. So that now we have that, right? And then here I'm going to give it a margin bottom of -1 rem. Okay, so that it kind of remove that slight thing here. And 1 rem is a bit too big, by the way, so let me say 1 pixel. Nope, let's say 10 pixels, -10 pixels. Okay, and then now we can go ahead and begin to build out this next section, because this image is annoying to center it properly. So for the next section, we have this testimonials thingy. And for the testimonials, we're just going to do the following. Inside our index HTML, we're going to go below the BG Blue. So below the BG Blue class, we're going to create another div that says testimonials. And then inside here, let me see how it's structured. We're going to have an article for each one of these. So article. And then let's just build out the first one because it's easier. So we're going to say the first one is going to be, let's see, we're going to have what? Let me create another div inside here. This structure is going to be quite annoying. And then inside the div, we're going to have an image that comes from assets / should be user avatar. I think it's this one. And then below this, we're going to have a UL with 2 list items. So the first one says Sarah Andrews, so Sarah Andrews, which is the name. And then the second one says 100K in revenue. So let's zoom this in so that I can actually read it. So $100K in revenue. And then now below this div, we are going to have some text that says setting up, let's see, setting up my portfolio with Fiber took no more than 10 minutes. So took no more 10 minutes. Since then, my portfolio has attracted a lot of clients, and made me more than 100K. So save it. And then below this, we're going to have a button. So a button that says view Sarah's portfolio, and then save it. Now we can go ahead and check out how this is going to look. And it looks quite ugly, as you can see. So let's begin to style this out. Let's zoom out now. And then we're going to go right before our media query. So below this, we're going to go ahead and say the following. So we want to go inside the testimonials and then inside the article. So for the .testimonials class, so testimonials, I want to do the following. I want to, let me see, testimonials is the parent and the articles are going to be the children. So display grid with grid template columns to repeat once and one fractional column. And then we're just going to go ahead right here and add a comma and say dot testimonials as well, so that on medium screens they're going to have 2 columns. And then here, right here, we're going to place a comma and say for the testimonials, so that now it's going to have 3. And then when I save it, it's going to be completely responsive, as you can see already. So this is the first article, and then the second, and then the third one is going to be here. Now let's go ahead and let's also add in what? Let me see. Where's the class here? So for the testimonials, I want to go inside the articles. So inside the articles, give them a padding all round of 1 rem, give them a border of 2 pixels, solid, and let me say hashtag 999. Give them a border radius of 1 rem. Save it. Let's see what we have. We're going to have this. This is a bit too thick. So let me say 1 pixel here. Okay. And then let's see. Looking almost nice. What do we need to add? We need this to come on the left side. The way we do that is just copy this, paste it here, and say that for the div, we're going to say display as a flexbox. There we go. And then align it at center and justify content to the flex start, and then give it a gap here of about 1 rem just to separate it out. There we go. And then we want to go inside the div. So copy. What did I copy? I thought I copied this. So copy. And then inside the div, we want to go inside the UL, and then inside the first list item, so LI, and then first child, give it a color of our blue color or our purple color, whichever it is, and then change the font weight. Oh my god, what am I typing? So font weight bold, make it bolder, and then let me just say give it a margin bottom about 0.2 rem, and there we go. And then now what I can do is inside this div, I'm going to give it a margin bottom of about 1 rem, just to separate it out from this text. And then now let's go inside, copy this, let's go inside the paragraph, which is going to be below this, so that now inside the paragraph I can give it a margin bottom of about 1 rem to push away from the button, which is this one. And then let's go ahead and style the button. So below this, let's style the button, and the button is going to have a width of 100%, and then it's going to have a padding of 1 rem at the top and bottom and 1.5 rem on the left and right, though we're not really going to say this because it is a width of 100%. And then we're going to say give it a border of 1 pixel, solid, and hashtag 999, and then give it a border radius, and the border radius is going to say about 0.5 rem. Save it, and there we go. And then let's change the text color. So above this, let's change the color to hashtag this one. And then is it bold? Yes, it's bold. So let's change the font weight to bold. Looking nice, looking nice. Now all you need to do is just copy and paste the next two, and then we are going to be done with that section. So let's just go ahead and copy this article up to here, copy, paste it once, paste it second time, and then let's just remember to change up this text. So this should be user avatar 2.svg. The text here says Matthew Higgins. Matthew Higgins. This one says what? 20k in revenue. So 20k in revenue, and then the text says zoom in. Come on, zoom in. Come on, you can do it. Zoom in. Really? Okay. Zoom in. So I've been getting a lot. So I've been getting a lot of leads ever since I used Fiber's premium templates. So leads ever since I used Fiber's pre-made templates. Now I just need to work on my case studies, and I'll be ready to go. Now I just need to work on my case studies, and I'll be ready to go. Save it, and then this says view Matthew's portfolio. And then for the third one, this says user 3, renamed as 32 for some reason. And then the text here says Janice, Dave. And then here this says 30K in revenue. And then this is Janice. And then the text for the paragraph is going to say, I only started freelancing this year, so I only started freelancing this year, and I have already made, so let me just fill that, this year, and I have already made more than I ever did in my full-time job. The templates are so amazing. Full stop. Okay, so once we save that, then we can go ahead, and this is what we're going to have. Now I just realized I forgot to add a grid gap here, so let's fix that. So inside our index CSS, where we have our testimonials, the main class here, let's add a grid gap here of 2rem to push them aside. And there we go, looking fantastic. Now I do realize that this should be scrollable. See how this should be scrollable for the testimonial section? You can go ahead and do that. I do not want to do it. Now let's go ahead and begin building out the next section, which is the footer. And the footer looks fairly simple. I hope it's fairly simple, you know. Those are some famous last words. So let's go ahead and inside the footer, we're going to create, sorry, below the section, we're going to create a footer. And then inside this footer, we're going to create a div with a class of footer-inner. And the logic for this is the same that we used on the header, because the footer also has a slight background color. So inside here, we are now going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to say the following. We're going to have an article. This first article is going to be an H2 that says fiber. Below this, we're going to have some paragraph, some text. And let me just check if this text is the same as this one. Yes, it's the same as this one, so I don't have to type it out again. I can just copy and paste it. So let me go ahead and go inside my hero section, copy this part, and inside the footer, I can just paste it here. And then below this, anything else? Made with love in the Netherlands. So below this, we're going to have a paragraph that says made with, there's an emoji for the heart, but I can't remember how to do it in Linux. Really? Made with, let me just say less than 3 in the Netherlands. Really, is this going to be an issue? Let me say, this is HTML. It shouldn't have that thing. Yeah. Okay, now below this first article, we're going to have another article. And what okay, this is bothering me. Let me just say made with. Below this article, I'm going to go ahead and say we want the title here. So let me just make that an H3 that says sitemap. And then below this H3, we're going to have a UL with how many list items? So I think it's 3 or 4. Oops. 4 list items. And then these are not links, so I don't want to add them in as links. So homepage pricing testimonials features. So homepage pricing testimonials and features. And then let's just copy this article. So copy 1, 2, is it? Or 3, the third one. And then we're just going to change up the text. Oh my god, could you not? So the title for this one says resources. And then we only need 3 for this one. So the first one here says support, and then contact, and then this one says FAQ, and then the next one says company, and then this one says about customers blog. So about customers and blog, and then we don't need this other one. And then the text for this one says portfolios, values. This one says Sarah, this one says Matthew, and then this one says Janice. Okay, so Janice Dave, and then Matthew Higgins, and then Sarah Andrews. Then we can move the fourth one, and then that's about it. So let's save it. Let's begin to style out our footer. So we're going to go right before our media queries, and then for the footer, I'm going to give it a background color of hashtag this one, I think it was. Let's see, and that is the correct color. And then let's say that for the dot footer inner class, dot footer dash inner, let's give it a max width of 1300 pixels with a margin of auto. Save it. There we go, limited nicely. And then let's go ahead and give it a padding 4 rem on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. And you know what, I need about 1 rem on the left and right, because on mobile it's going to have issues on mobile. So if I were to remove this, then it's going to be on the edge. I don't want that, so let's add 1 rem just to push it in just a bit. And then let's see, for the dot footer inner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say about this, I'm going to say display this as a grid with grid template columns to repeat once and 1 fractional column each, 1 fr. And then let's add a gap here of 2 rem to separate them out, as you can see, looking nice. And then for the dot footer dash inner, I want to go inside the div, and then I want to go inside the h2, which is the logo, and then I want to give it a margin bottom of about 1 rem to push away from the text just a bit. This is an h3, not an h2. Wait, what? Oh, it's not a div, it's an article. That's what. And then this is now an h2. There we go. So increase the space just a bit, and then we are going to go and do the same thing. So just copy this and then place a comma, and then do the same thing now for the paragraph, which is this one. So you can add a bit of space. And then now once we have that, then let me go ahead and do this. Let's add a media query here, and then I'm going to say that for the dot footer inner, so for the dot footer inner, I want to go ahead and say the grid template columns are now going to be twice and 1 fractional column each. There we go. And then let's just copy this and then do the same thing here. And you know what, for this one I can just go ahead and place a comma and say that for the dot footer inner, so 1 2 3, and you know what, let me just make this 4. Okay, no, let me make it 3, so that I can go ahead and add another media query here and say at media for a min width of 1280 pixels. Then for the dot footer inner class, I want this to be 5. So 1 2 3 4 5. That's looking okay. Now once I have that, then let's go ahead and begin to style these parts. And for that, we're just going to go back to the top, and we're going to go above this and say that for the dot footer inner, I want the article and then the h3, and then give it a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. There we go. And then we're going to say that for the dot footer inner, I want the article and then the ul, and then I'm going to say display flex, and then change the flex direction to column, so nothing changes, and then give it a grade gap here of about 0.3 rem maybe, or let me just use 0.5 rem. That's looking much better. Would you look at that? Looking nice. And that is the Fiber homepage complete. So now we can scale it downwards. Looking nice. And yeah, that's looking quite nice. Okay, and so now that we are done with our footer, then the next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and create our sign up page. And this is how our sign up page looks like on desktop, and this is the view on mobile. So the first thing that we're going to do is back inside our workspace, we're going to create a new file here, and we're going to call it sign-up.html. And then because I have Emmet installed with the Visual Studio Code, I can just say exclamation and enter, which generates this boilerplate for me. And then for the title, I'm just going to say sign up page, and then let's probably say Fiber, and then place our vertical line. And then for the body, let's just return an H1 that says sign up page, and then let's save it. Now we need to link this page to our sign up button, which is this one. And so the way we do that is we're going to go inside our index HTML, and then right where we have our sign up button right here, we're going to change this. Now this is no longer going to be a button, but it's going to be an anchor tag. And then the anchor tag here is going to have an href attribute, which stands for hyperlink reference. And we want this to link towards this sign up HTML, so that when I save this and I go ahead and try to click this button now, then I should be able to click on it and it should navigate us to this sign up page. So let's reload, and then let's click it, and it doesn't work. So let's see, why don't you work? Oh, you know what? I'm clicking the wrong button. So when I click on this one, it should show us the sign up page. Now let's go ahead and let's do this. I seem to have messed up the styling somewhere. I think I messed up the styling. Let me just undo for a moment. Let me just check something. Reload this. Okay. So this remains the same. So sign in and sign up. Okay, so the styles on the button are different. That's okay. So let's just redo sign up HTML. And then let's go inside this class in our CSS and make sure that this is taking the correct classes. So inside our index CSS, let's search for the class that is called .cta. Come on here, .cta. And then let's see, where is it? Is there no class really? I did not style it. I didn't style it. I did not style it. I did not style it. What class did I give on the button? This one. And I said that it is for the button. Now we're just, because we are accessing the last child here. Now I don't want the button anymore. I want it to be the anchor tag. So that when I save this, then it should now show the correct classes. And now I don't want this font size. So the font size should reduce. So let me place it here. Font size, set it to 16 pixels or 1 rem. Yeah, there we go. So that now I can click on this, and then we have our sign up page. Now for the sign up page, we're going to do the following. I want to create a different CSS file for our sign up page, because this is quite a big CSS file, and I don't want to get mixed up with the classes. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create a new file, and then I'm going to call it sign-up.css. And so now that I've created this file, I don't want to repeat some of the styles that I had inside here. Like I don't want to repeat this, and I don't want to repeat this and some of the global styles that I had. So what I'm going to do is inside our sign up HTML, I want to also link my index.css, so that this page is going to take up some of the styles of the homepage, as you can see right there. Now, once I've linked this, what I want to do is I want to also link my sign up CSS. Now let's go ahead and save that, so that now we can begin to build out this page, and then all the styles for this page, we are going to place them inside the signup.css. Now let's go step by step. So we want to create our title here, or our logo, and then this form. Now let's go ahead and do this. Let's just create a section here, a section. And then inside this section, now on large screens, look at this. It has one article here, or one section, or one div, depending on how you want to look at it. So it has one here and then the other one here. Now on mobile, this part doesn't show. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the desktop version, but on mobile, this is going to be set to display now. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create a div here, and then this first div is going to be everything that is housing that. So I'm going to create an h2 that says fiber, and then below this h2 we're going to create an h1 that says create your fiber account. So create fiber account, and then below the h1 we're now going to have our form. So the form is going to be a form element with no action, and this should say create. So create. Now inside this form, we're going to do the following. We're going to have, now look at this, we have a label and then the input. So I'm going to structure it as follows. I'm going to have an article, and then inside this article, we're going to have the label, which is this one, and this is for the name, and the text says your name, so your name. And then below this we have an input with a type of text because we want it to be filled in with a name of a person. So the name of this input is going to be, let me just say username. The ID is going to be username, and then the for attribute here is going to link to the username, so that this label, when you click on this label, then the input, this first input, is going to be highlighted because this links to the ID. Now the placeholder here is going to say, what does it say? John Doe. So John Doe, and then let's just set it to required so that we won't be able to submit the form without filling in this input. Now once I have that, then I can go ahead and save it, and then now look at what we have on the screen. So we have the label here, and then we have the input, and then when I click on the label, then it highlights the input. That is what we want. Now let's go ahead and let's just build out the rest of these inputs, and the way we're going to do that is just by copying this article and pasting it 1 and 2. I think there are 3 of them, yes. And then this one, we're going to change this to, what's the second one? Email. So just highlight this entire text using Control and D, so Control D, and then say email. And then the input type here is also going to be email, and then this is going to say your email. What does it say? E-mail. And then the placeholder here is going to say john@example.com. And then the third one is going to be password. So do the same thing, just highlight this text and then Control D, and then we're going to say password, and then this is going to say password, so password. And then the input type here is going to be an input type of password, and then it doesn't have a placeholder for obvious reasons. Oh, wait a minute, it does have a placeholder, so at least 8 characters, so at least 8 characters, and then also set it to required. Now once we have that, then let's go ahead and create this checkbox that has this disclaimer, and we're going to go below the article, so this article, and let me see, do I want to create another article for this one? Maybe not. Let me say an input with a type of checkbox, with a name of checkbox, with an ID of checkbox, and then this is probably going to say what? Let me do this. Let me cut this out. Let me place it inside an article also. So an article, and then now below the input, we're going to have a label, and the for attribute for this one is going to be going to the checkbox, and then the label is going to say by creating an account on Fiverr. So by creating an account on Fiverr, you agree to the terms and conditions. So you agree to the, and then this is a link to the terms and conditions page. So you can add an anchor tag here, and it doesn't have an href, so I mean it does have an href, but we don't have that page, so I just wanted to link to the hashtag, and then this is going to say terms and conditions. Okay, and then below this article, let's see, we have create Fiverr account. So this is the submit button. So we're going to have a button with a type of submit, and then the submit button is going to say create Fiverr account. And then finally we are going to have this text on the bottom, so I'm just going to go below this. I'm going to have a paragraph that says already have an account, question mark, and then add another anchor tag with the hashtag because it's not linking to any page that we have, and this one says sign in. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead and save this, and if we check what we have, then we're going to have this. Okay, now let's begin to style this out for mobile. So let me place this to the right, and then place my code editor to the left, close this, and then let's go inside signup.css, and we're just going to start on the top. So the first thing that we have is the h2. I do not even the h2, but the, let me close this and this. We need this section, so we're going to say that for the section we want a padding all around of 1 rem. I can't remember what I used in my index css, so let me just check if I can find it. So I want the padding. I want padding. Okay, I used 1 rem on the left and right. and then 5 rem on the top and bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me just copy this and then let's paste it here. That is too much. Let's say 2 rem. Okay, now that we have that, then let's go inside the h2, and we want the h2 to have a margin bottom of 1.5 rem. We start from this text, and then we want the h1 to have a margin not font size, margin bottom of 1.5 rem as well, but we want to increase its font size a bit to about 1.5 rem also, maybe. Okay, that's just the same size, so let's say 2 rem, and then move it upwards. Okay, and then now let's see what is the structure, h1 and then the form. So let's go inside the form, and then for the form, what we want to do is we want to go inside each article, because remember how we structured it. So we have the article and then the label and then the input. So the way we want to do this is we want each article to display as a flex box, and then we're going to say align item center and justify contact with the center, which is going to do that. Okay, and then now we want to change the flex direction and set it to column. And then now I want this to stretch out, and then I want this text to go to the left. So I'm going to remove align item center, and that is what we're going to have. And then now let's go inside the form, article, and then the labels. And for the labels, we want them to have a font weight of bold to make them bolder in font, and then also a font size of, let's say, 17 pixels, just to make them a bit bigger. That's looking okay. And then let's give them a margin. Actually, not, let me not give them margin bottom here, because I need this to separate out as well. So let me give it a gap here of about 1 rem to separate out the articles and the inputs. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. This should not be here. It should be on the form. So we want the form to display as a flex box as well, or we can use grid. So let's just say display grid because it's easier. And then grid template columns to repeat once, and 1 fraction column for each, which doesn't change the structure at all. But now I'm going to add a grid gap of 1 rem, which is going to separate out the articles, as you can see. And then now on the labels, we want to add a margin bottom of about 10 pixels. Okay, I think that looks okay. Now once we have that, then we can go ahead and now style our inputs. So let's copy this, paste it here, and then change this to the inputs. And then for the inputs, we're going to say we want to give them a padding of about, let's say, 1 rem on the top and bottom and 2 rem on the left and right. And then let's increase the font size here, because as you can see, it's just a bit smaller. So let's say increase it to 1 rem. That's better. And then let's remove this border. How does this look? Yeah, the border is just a bit different, and then it is also rounded. So we're going to say that the border is going to be 1 pixel solid, and let's give it a light gray color. Let's say EC. Save it, and then probably let's change this to 2 pixels just so that it's a bit more prominent. And then let's give it a border radius of about 10 pixels as well to make it rounded on the edges. That's looking okay. And then what you can do is you can space out the letters just a bit. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say not text transform but letter spacing. Set it to about 2 pixels. That's too much. Let's say 1 pixel. Yeah, it's very subtle, but it improves your reading speed. Now once we have that for our inputs, then let's go ahead and style this out. Now we want to get the form article, and then we want to get the last article. Okay, so the last article here is this input with a checkbox, and then let me see whether I can say display flex on it. Am I doing the correct thing? Let's say background color red. I'm not sure whether I'm doing the correct thing. Let's say padding 2 rem. Okay, I can't tell whether I'm doing the correct thing, so let me just check this. Let me go and do this instead because it's easier. This article, I'm going to give it a class name of checkbox, so that I can go here and say that article that has the class of checkbox, then it's going to be like that. Okay, now I don't want this here because it doesn't follow the correct hierarchy. The article comes before the input, so I should place it here. Now let's style that out. Let's remove this. So display flex doesn't work on this because of reasons. So label checkbox. So probably I should remove this label from here, and then I should remove the closing with this one. Closes up to here. Save it, and then still that doesn't work. And I think the reason why it doesn't work is because of this. Let me remove this. Okay, that's not the reason. I hate styling out checkboxes. So let's say article checkbox display flex. Let's say align items to the flex start, and then let's remove this padding of 2 rem. I can't believe I don't know how to style a checkbox. Let's do this. Let's copy this, and then let's say that for the checkbox we want to get the anchor tag inside here, and then we want to change the color to our purple, which is inside our index.css. So let me just get this purple, copy and paste it here, which is going to do that. Change the font weight to bold. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and style our submit button. So our submit button comes on the bottom, so I want to access the form and then the button. And then for this one, we're going to give it a background color. And not, let me just not type out all the styles again, because I know I already styled it somewhere, and it should be this one. So let's just copy the styles and then paste them here, and that does that. Okay, and then finally we want to get the form and then the paragraph, because it's this one at the bottom. And then we're going to say text align center, which is going to do that. And then for the form paragraph, we want to get the anchor tag, and the anchor tag here should be styled the same as this one. So we can just go ahead and just copy these styles and paste them here, and that does that. Or if you don't want to do this because this is a repetition, you can remove this and then just go and place a comma here and say that for the form, the paragraph, and then the anchor tag, and that does the exact same thing. Now what we need to do is we need to add our image, which is going to be outside of this div. So we're going to create another div, and then this div is going to be for this second part. Now this one, we're going to do the following. We are going to have, let's say, an image. The image source for this should be from assets, and it should be sign up image. The alt attribute can just say sign up to fiber. And then below this, we're going to have an h2 that says unparalleled. Is that how it's said? Okay, unparalleled templates. Then let's shrink this a bit so that I can actually read the text. Okay, below this h2, you know what? Let me place this inside an article. And then below this h2, let's say crafted by a team of professional designers, or templates are unparalleled. Make this a small u in the market. And then below this paragraph, we're going to have a ul with 4 list times 3 items, so 1 2 3 4, li times 4. And then for the first one, I'm going to give this a class of active, and you're going to see how this is going to be styled out. Let's save this. And then now what we want to do is, on mobile, we don't want this image to show up. So what we're going to do is something very simple. We're going to go ahead inside our sign up CSS, and we're going to say that for the section and then for the div, which is the last child, meaning the second one, and you can as well say that for the nth child 2, which is going to select our second div, then I want this to display none, and you can see that it disappears. And then now what we need to do is we're just going to copy this and then add a media query and say that for a mean width of about, let's say, 1024 pixels, which are laptop size screens, then we're going to paste this in, and then we're going to say display this as a block. so that now when I increase this to about 1024 pixels, then our div shows up. Now therefore what we're going to do is this. We're going to give this a background color of purple, the purple that we had, and it's going to do that. Okay, and now you can see that we need to, let me see, this takes up the entire device, so we need to remove this padding. So remember how we added some padding on the section on the top when we started right here? We want to remove that padding, so we're going to say that the padding here is going to be 0, and then down that is going to shrink everything. As you can see, we're going to fix that, but now this is working as we expected, even though we can't really see it because this image is taking up 100%, but we're going to fix it in a moment. So let's make this full screen, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to say that for the section we are going to display this as a grid, because we know that the section has two divs, sorry. So the first div is the form, and then the second div is this one. So we're going to say grid template columns are going to repeat twice and one fractional column each, and we're going to see that now our form is here, and then our other thingy is here. And then now let's go ahead and reduce the size of this image. So we're going to say this. I'm going to select this, copy, paste it here, and then I'm going to say that for the image inside, I want the width to be 50%. So that now it does that. Okay, and then I'm going to set the margin to auto so that it centers, but it doesn't center because this needs to display block. And there we go. So let's move this upwards, and then this one here as well. And then now what we're going to do is inside this div, I want to give this a padding. So I'm going to give it a padding of about 2 rem all around, which is going to push this inwards and downwards just a bit. Or what I can do is I can say 5 rem on the top and bottom and 2 rem on the left and right. There we go. And then let's go inside the article. So inside, let's just copy this. We know that inside the second div, we created an article which has the h2 and the text. So for this one, I'm just going to change the color to white, which is going to do that. But for this one, I guess I need to specify the color explicitly because I set it as a global style in our index CSS. So let's go ahead and say this. Let me say this for the article h2, and then that should work. And the reason why this works is because our CSS here is evaluated after our CSS in our index HTML in our homepage. And then what we're going to do now is this. We're going to copy this, paste it here, and we're going to say text align center, which is going to move the text to the center. And then we're going to give it a margin top of 2 rem to push away from the image. And then let's style this as well. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, paste it here, and we're going to say that for the paragraph, we want the width to be, let me say, 70%. And you probably shouldn't use percentages all that much. And I actually don't recommend it, by the way. So let me do this. Let me say 500 pixels for the text, and then change the color to white. So color white. And then we're going to say, because we limited this here, then I'm going to say margin auto, which is going to center it properly. There we go, looking nice. Now I need this to take up 100% of this width, or of the height, sorry. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to set the height to 100 VH, which is going to do that. And then now I need this to come to the center. That is going to be an issue. And that is going to be an issue. Let me remove this from here. Let me just comment it out, and then let me add it here. So let me say height 100 VH. Okay, there we go. That does the same thing, so that now I can go inside the section and I can say align item center, which should now, okay, breaks a bit. Okay, now let's see. Let me add it here under VH. Still doesn't work. Probably. Okay, so it doesn't work, but if I change this to grid, then it is now centered, right? Yes, it is now centered. So change it to grid instead of display block. There we go. Now this image is looking a bit small. So where's the image here? Let me change it to 70%. Yeah, much better. And then let's add a padding on the left and right of this first article, or first div, sorry. So we're going to do this, just copy this, paste it on top, and then we're going to say that for div, which is the first child, or nth child 1, then we're going to say give it a padding of 0 on the top and bottom and 2 rem on the left and right, which is going to squeeze it. Looking fantastic. Very, very nice. Now, just for the sake of accessibility to this page, because currently we can't go back to our homepage unless we remove this from the address bar. Let me go ahead and right above the title here, let me add an anchor tag here that goes back into index.html, and we're going to have an HTML entity that says ampersand left arrow, so LARR, and then I'm just going to say back. Save it and it should appear here, and then let's just tell it out. Let me give it a class name here that says back, and then this is going to come on top because it is now like the first style, so dot back, and I'm going to say display inline block so that I can add a margin bottom on it, margin bottom of 2 rem. There we go. So that now we can go back to the home page, and then we can also go to the sign up page. That is looking fantastic, looking nice. And so now the only thing that we are left to add is the icons, the little icons right here. Now this is simple enough to do. Remember, we created an unordered list somewhere right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go right below where? Oh, because it's only visible on desktop anyway. So let's go ahead and say that, let's copy this and paste it here. Really? My mouse. Paste it here. And then we're going to say that for the UL, we want to go inside the list items. And then we are going to give them a width of 10 pixels, a height of 10 pixels, which is very huge. And then give them a background color of white. And then give them a border radius of 50% to make them rounded. And we're going to end up with this. Look at that. And then now what you need to do is insert the parent UL. So copy this, paste it on top. We're going to display the UL as a flexbox, and then align item center, and then justify content to the center, which is going to push it to the center right there. And then let's add a margin on the top. Okay, this is annoying. So we're going to say margin top of 2 rem, which is going to do this. So it's going to add this margin, and then we want to separate these out. So we are going to say the following. We are going to say that inside this UL, we want to add a gap here of about 1 rem and push it upwards, and we're going to end up with that. Let's make these a bit bigger because they're a bit too small for me. So make them about 1 rem, which is 16 pixels. That's too big. Let's say 14 pixels. Okay, 12 pixels. Let's work with 12. And then I want that for each of these list items, I want that when I hover over them, then the cursor here, instead of this arrow, it changes to a pointer or a finger. So I'm going to say cursor pointer, so that now when I hover over this, then look at that, now it is now a pointer or a hand or whatever. Now what we need to do is we only want this first one to be highlighted. As you can see, the other ones are all looking very dull. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to say FFF, but I'm going to add an opacity on it by adding 2 numbers at the end. So I'm going to say an opacity of 75, and that is going to do the following. And then now what we need to do is, I'm going to copy this once again, paste it here, and remember that I added a class of active on the first one. Now you can use JavaScript to toggle this if you had other images that you wanted to toggle, but since we don't have any, then we're not going to be adding any JavaScript. So I'm going to say that for the list item that has a class of active, then I want the background color to be white, and that is going to do the following. So now this is whiter, and then this is blurred just a bit. And if you want to test it out, then you can cut this out from here and add it on the third one, for example. Cut it out, and then when you save it, then the third one is now highlighted and these others are not. So that's looking okay. So I want it to go back to the first one. That is looking nice. Okay, so once I have that, then we can go into Codewell. So codewell.cc, and then let me open up GitHub so that I can commit the code, and then we can close this and close this and close that as well. Then let's say Control J. Come on. Let's create a new repository here. Let's log into this. And then let's create a new repository. And then this one says, what is it? Fiber landing page. And then let's create repository. And then let's copy this link. Now I can go ahead and say git init. Okay. And then I'm going to say git add all and git commit. And I'm going to say initial commit. And then git push dash u, git branch dash capital M, and then main to change the branch, and then git push dash u origin main, and I missed a step, so we need to actually oh my god, what am I doing today? So we need to do the following. So git remote add origin, and then paste this in, and then git branch dash m main, and then git push dash u origin main. Okay, now those steps are basically just these ones here, these ones. Okay, now once that pushes, then I can reload this page and we should be able to see our repository right there. So initial commit committed right now, or 1 minute ago. And then what we can do is let's go ahead and open up Netlify. So this is the, let's copy this link first of all. Let's go into Codewell, into challenges, and then let's go into fiber landing page here. So view challenge, come on, loading. As that is loading, let's go ahead and open up Netlify so that we can commit this to Netlify. And then let's see. So no, we are not downloading the challenge. We want to submit solution. Where's the submit button? Oh, here it is. Why is it so white? So the title here is going to be fiber landing page. The GitHub repo is this one, and then let's deploy this. So add a new site, deploy manually. Sorry, not deploy manually, come on, deploy from an existing project from GitHub. And then let's go ahead and search for fiber landing, or let me just search for fiber. There we go. So let's select this one, and then let's just go ahead and say deploy, and then let's say site configuration. Let's change the site name. Let me change it to TsbSankara. Let's say fiber landing page, and then save it. And then we should be able to see it here. I think it has deployed. There we go. So copy this link, and then let's go ahead and submit our solution here. And is this required? I don't know whether this is required, but let's say submit. Okay, it's required. So let me just go ahead and say mobile first fiber landing page, and then let me also add mobile first here, and submit solution. And there we go. Looking fantastic. And so that is going to be the end of this project. And if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.